Hello everyone, welcome to 10-Minute Physiology. In today's video we're going to talk about baroreceptors and blood pressure, so with that let's give it a go. So I would like to start off with the short-term regulation of blood pressure. So let's just say we have an increase in blood pressure. This increase in blood pressure is going to stretch the blood vessels, which will activate the baroreceptors. So the baroreceptors are the sensors of this negative feedback cycle. So the baroreceptors will then send signals through the afferent pathways into the medulla. So the medulla is the control center, which will interpret these signals and therefore send a signal out in order to respond to this change. So the medulla will send signals through the efferent pathways into the heart and blood vessels. So the heart and blood vessels are called the effectors, and these heart and blood vessels will respond to the signals sent from the medulla and therefore act to decrease the blood pressure, therefore completing this negative feedback cycle. So the thing that we're going to be focusing on in this video is the baroreceptors, or the sensors. So we're going to talk about what they are, how they work, and we're also going to compare different baroreceptors to each other. So with that, let's give it a go. So what are baroreceptors? So baroreceptors are stretch-activated receptors that are found mainly in two places. The first place is the aortic arch, and the second place is the carotid sinus. Now, baroreceptors are stretch-activated receptors, and the reason why is because when you have an increase in blood pressure, this stretches the blood vessels, which therefore activates these receptors and allows them to send signals. So the baroreceptors are going to primarily use TRPC channels, and these are non-selective cation channels. So it's important to realize that the baroreceptors are the nerve endings of sensory nerves. So these nerve endings are going to produce a graded potential, and these graded potentials will then stimulate action potentials further up the sensory nerve. So with that, let's see how these baroreceptors actually work. So let's just say we do a little experiment and we increase the pressure up to a certain point. So we take a blood vessel and we increase the pressure and therefore stretch it, and we hold that pressure for a certain period of time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the receptor potential in the baroreceptor, and it looks like this. So the baroreceptor is going to produce a graded potential, and this graded potential will then travel up the sensory nerve until it causes an action potential to fire. And this action potential is going to have a certain firing frequency, and the firing frequency would look something like this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to increase the pressure further up. So if we were to increase the pressure to a greater point, it would produce a greater depolarization in the baroreceptor. And this greater depolarization would translate into a higher firing frequency of action potentials in the sensory nerve. So it looks something like this. So the main concept here is that in the baroreceptor nerve ending, when you activate the baroreceptor, it's going to produce a graded potential. This graded potential will then travel down the nerve until it elicits action potentials. And the greater the graded potential is, the greater the firing frequency of action potentials in the sensory nerve. And it's this firing frequency that the medulla will interpret and therefore send a signal out. Now, an important thing to realize is that there are two components to the receptor potential. The first is the dynamic component, which we see right here. So the dynamic component is called the dynamic component because the receptor potential is changing. So what we see here is that the receptor potential increases and then it decreases back down to this level. The second component is the static component, and the reason why is because it's remaining constant. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to summarize the differences between the aortic arch and carotid sinus. So the first thing is that the carotid sinus pressure is going to have a greater overall effect on blood pressure than the aortic arch pressure. So the carotid sinus pressure is going to be the main determining factor of whether this negative feedback cycle is initiated. So another thing is that compared to the carotid sinus receptors, the aortic arch receptors are going to first have higher activation thresholds. So in other words, it's going to take a greater amount of pressure in order to activate these receptors than it would in the carotid sinus. And because of this, these aortic arch receptors are less sensitive to pressure changes. Another difference is that the aortic arch receptors are going to continue responding to pressure increases at pressures which the carotid baroreceptors have already been saturated. And also, the aortic arch baroreceptors are going to respond less effectively to a decrease in pressure than an increase in pressure. So these are the main differences between these two receptors. So from this video, we saw that baroreceptor nerve endings are stretch-activated sensors of blood pressure, and the main baroreceptors are in the carotid sinus and aortic arch. We saw that these nerve endings produce graded potentials, which then stimulate action potentials further up the sensory nerve, and the strength of the stimulus is coded in the frequency of action potentials. We also saw how baroreceptors have both a dynamic and static response, and that there are several differences between the baroreceptors in the aortic arch and the carotid sinus. So I hope this video helped you understand what baroreceptors are, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.